Hello, I'm Tara Brabazon. I'm the Dean of Graduate Research at Flinders University, and welcome to vlog 129. What's your story? This vlog comes from a very unusual place. The wonderful Laura, hi Laura, asked me to do a vlog about the story of your PhD. So deploying narrative theory, if you will, and how we configure the structure of a PhD. And I am going to deliver that vlog for you next week, Laura, I promise. But this vlog comes from a different place. Not the story of the PhD, but actually your story. What's your story? And the origin of this vlog comes from 4 weeks in the Office of Graduate Research, in this office, which is why I'm recording here. And as I've often said, in the Office of Graduate Research, we see students on the best day of their life and the worst day of their life. And for those students I've seen the last month on that worst day of their life, I've listened, I've cared, I've respected, I've put a gentle hand on theirs. And as I returned home and sat in my very, very large and attractive beanbag, I wondered what exactly was going on here. What was the problem? And these students did all have something in common in the last month. They were being crowded in. People were talking at them. They were bumping them out of their own life. So they didn't get a sense of who they were and what their perspective and their journey is. So with one of these wonderful students, I asked her to visualise her candidature as a 400-metre running race. And at the moment, people were getting in a lane and they were chipping at her and attacking her and sort of getting her off her stride. And so I wanted her to visualise her 400-metre running race as she is moving with speed and grace and in her own lane. And there is space around her. So I asked her to speed up, move forward and run her own race. So that's what I wanted. I didn't want her to look from side to side. I wanted to focus on her story and her race. But today is quite a quiet day, I think, and a quiet vlog. I wanted to just pause this week. I never thought I'd write a vlog like this, but I wanted to think about you. I want you to think about the story that you tell yourself about your own life and about your own PhD. What I want for all of you today is to run your own race. So Laura asked I do a PhD series on the story, the narrative of a doctorate, and I will do that, but today is different. Today is the first stage in that, not what's the story of your PhD, but what's your story. Now, this isn't going to be one of those sort of tragic moments in your life when some random old bloke comes up to you and goes, "What's your story? What's your story?" And so it's not going to be yucky and sleazy and dreadful, I promise. This instead is going to be a very quiet vlog, a quiet conversation between us. No one else has to know what you're thinking. It wouldn't be a bad idea to have some notes and a pen and just think about this as we're moving through this vlog today. What I'm going to ask you is, what is your fuel? What is your engine? What propels you in your life and indeed your thesis? So this is a private, quiet conversation about your choices. So today we're going to clear the lane, your lane, of all the nonsense, of all the sort of jostling, all the vibe, and you're going to look straight down your lane. And Jen, this one's for you. So today I ask you all to think about your story and think about your purpose. Put an even better way, because people go, "Oh, look, story, that's a bit naff. Journey, that's a bit naff," and I sort of agree with you. But if you think about it another way, what are the t-shirt slogans of your life? Now, I wear a lot of t-shirt slogans. I don't sort of wear the Nike or the Reebok gear to the gym. I often wear these really pretty offensive or out there t-shirt slogans. So, like training for the zombie apocalypse, or, zombies eat brains, don't worry, you're safe. My other favourite one is, I'm silently correcting your grammar. Now, these sorts of slogans crystallise thought, and they capture something really significant about you. So you may like to just think about what are the t-shirt slogans of your life, the stuff that you wear that is the punctuation for your daily existence. And I often say in these vlogs, don't be a guest star in your own life. Today's a bit more. I'm going to push you a little bit more today. What are your values? And indeed, what do you value? This is not the story that you tell other people. This is not the story you tell somebody on a date, like, tell me your life story. This is not this stuff. It's not the story that you tell in a job interview. This is much more honest, much more important. This is the story that you tell yourself. And yes, whatever story you are telling yourself, it can change, it can transform. So let's do this together today. And to help you think through this story, I'm going to scaffold it. There are 4 particular stories that we're going to talk about. The academic story, the professional story, the personal story, and the life story. And we're going to do it in that order. So let's start with the academic story. Consider how you entered a PhD or a research master's program and the role of that PhD in your intellectual development in your life. So you were and you are a bright person. You're committed to learning. You're committed to research. Now, why? Where has that interest come from? And try and specify that if you can. Now the challenge is, if other people told you, oh look, you're really bright, if other people told you, oh, you need to do a PhD, then that may explain some of the challenges you're going through with regard to, say, imposter syndrome, blah, blah, blah. So whenever you do anything for other people, and that includes a PhD, when things get tough, you ask yourself, why exactly am I doing this? And if your answer is, oh look, my mum would be really upset with me if I pulled out, or my supervisor would be disappointed, that's not enough of a reason to continue. You've got to own this. This is your thesis. You made a choice, and I need you to claim that choice. So consider your story going into a PhD and your story going out of the PhD. So what I want you to do is place the PhD as a punctuation point, if you will, a comma, in your intellectual life. And that'll stop you and block all that imposter syndrome stuff. So start with your story. So how did you get in here? The story might start, I was very successful in my undergraduate degree. I loved honours. The honours project really excited me. I was in a coursework master's and the dissertation really intrigued me. Or I was in clinical practice and there was a problem I was really desperate to solve. Another one of your stories may be, I really, really love science. So that story is important, and I need you to keep that in terms of momentum, movement in your life. Keep the focus on you, your intelligence, and your achievements. So there's the academic story. Next to the professional story. Now, this is important for the big words in academia at the moment, so impact and engagement. So how is this PhD going to further your career? So think about your research. Why does it matter? And who does it matter to? And be precise in those determinations. This is the story about how your research will travel, how you'll take the insights from your PhD and arc beyond it. So start to shape that professional story for me. Remember, and this has been really important, I think, for a lot of the students in my office recently about this professional story, don't compare yourself to anybody else. This is your lane. This is your research. This is your race, your professional story. Don't look either way. Focus on the future. Okay, so then we move to the personal story. And we had to do these first 2 stages to get here. Now, there may be personal reasons that you are here. Why did you decide to do a PhD? It might be this deep social justice imperative. Well done. It may be your whole life, really. Your family has sacrificed an enormous amount to get you here, and that's crucial too. I see some wonderful students, particularly our students over 50, who this is the pinnacle of their moment of their life. They've always wanted to do a PhD and now they have that chance. So I hear that a lot. You might want your children, your parents, your partner to be proud of you. You maybe need to be promoted for a job. But I hope when you tell this personal story that there's something emotional there about personal satisfaction, personal achievement, rather than simply doing it for other people. And look, we live in extrinsically motivated times. So I'm doing a PhD so I can get a better job, so I can get paid more, so I can buy a new car, so I can buy a new house, so I can buy a frock. You know, we do stuff to buy stuff. But doing a PhD successfully frequently comes from something very deep. So curiosity, fascination, intrigue, the desire to solve a big problem. So the final story that I want you to speak for me now is your life story. And I'll summon the train spotting light mantras. You're not your job, you're not your family, you're not your big screen television, you're not your car, you're not your PhD. So if we take these easy mantras, this easy socialization away from you, then we take the stuff, the family, the television, what's actually left of you? What is your story when you strip it back to your very sensitive skin? What matters? What is the grammar that is a punctuation for your life? If you can work that out, then that can provide an incredibly powerful way to claim your space, claim your lane, and work out what you stand for. And it then doesn't matter what the mongrels, the haters, the mean girls, whatever those people say, it's irrelevant to you because this is what you are doing. And you've got to hold on to this core. And frequently, of course, these are core values. Now, for me, my core values are pretty clear and I've developed them really over the last 20 years. My core values are compassion and kindness. And when I think about my personal story has always been walk gently on the earth and then disappear. Wake up in the morning, do some good, and certainly don't do any harm. That's it. So think about what your core story is. And there's going to be people that come into your life and then across your core values, and I need you to know what they are, but also sit in them. Be confident in those core values. Don't be brittle. And stay within your lane. Stay within your story, no matter who is trying to pull you out of that lane. And look, I'll give you an example. Look, I'm a professor, I'm a dean, I'm a very senior person, and this stuff happens to me all the time. So it's not just you as a PhD student, it happens to everybody. And I'll give you an example recently from a woman. And isn't it sad that this stuff always happens from a woman? Feminism demands more of us, ladies and gentlemen. But there was a pretty out of control woman who was engaging with me and used a phrase, can I say, that's become a bit of a cliche in the office. She said to me, quote, "You don't understand academic publishing." End of quote. Now I was a bit stunned for a moment. In fact, I did that weird sort of Labrador head tilt, you know, but I took a breath, recentered, remembered my core values, and I simply replied to her, look, I do know a fair amount about publishing. You know, I've got 20 books and 200 refereed articles and, you know, chapters and stuff. And, you know, I work as a series editor and I do a lot of refereeing. And actually, you know, I teach publishing as part of the creative industry suite. So I probably know a fair amount about publishing. And then I stopped there because that's kindness and compassion, but strength, holding on to your core values. And I didn't say, look, my publishing achievements are 10 times yours, love, calm the farm. I didn't say that because that's cruel. And I didn't say that. I knew it because I respected her enough to go through her CV. Clearly, she hadn't gone through mine, but maybe she did. Because then, and this is the sad bit of this story, and you need to remember this and never do this to anybody, when she couldn't get me out of my lane on professional or academic grounds, she then went personal and she said to me, but you don't have any children and you don't even have a husband. So wow. So, the horror, the tragedy, the brutality, the nastiness of that is just breathtaking. And, I had some choices to make at that point. And you know what? I didn't respond to her. I didn't take her to HR. I didn't report on her. I just simply took a breath. I could feel sort of pricks in my eyes and went, no, it's cool, Tara, it's cool, it's cool, it's cool. I simply looked at her and said, what else can I do to be of assistance to you today? And left it at that. And she was so shocked that I didn't respond to her after she'd said the unsayable that she simply scuttled out of the office and said, you've wasted enough of my time. Interesting. So as you can see, there are some advantages in going high when other people go low. But the trouble is, it is emotionally taxing. And the reason I've told you that story is I think what's happening to our students is you're getting tangled up in other people's stuff. So all this stuff is coming at you and you're sort of getting tangled up in it, and getting out of the tangle takes energy and takes you away from your focus, away from your lane. So this is what I want from you in this vlog today. I want to create some separation around you. No tangle, separation. You running your lane. So when people try to get in your face with their weird stuff, it may take you a couple of seconds, but take a breath and hold on to those core values, those stories we've talked about today: academic, professional, personal, and life story. Now, you're going to have some problems, okay? People are not going to like what you're about to do, because this is how you become successful. And look, I'm pretty famous in the office that when people write what I term war and peace emails, and we all get them, those war and peace emails when people have had 5 Chardonnays, and they write an 8-page email and they send it to you at 1 a.m. in the morning. You know those people? We all get those emails, bless. Now, I always respond to those 8 pages of an email during office hours with one word. And that one word is noted. Noted. So the point of this is you do not have to deal with other people's insecurity, weakness, fears, or anger. You don't have to deal with their stuff. You just simply note it. I note your issues, move it to the side, move it out of your lane, keep running. Center yourself, keep moving. So the final point I want to make during this really unusual vlog, I never thought I'd do one like this, but I wanted to sort of just talk about those really, really, really dreadful times where staying in your lane is not even an option. So when dreadful things happen and you can't simply note it and move on. And the point is, I do want you to be gentle with yourself, okay? I know I'm very demanding of you all. I ask you all to give me your best. Lift, 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 lift. Give me something fabulous. Keep going, because research is such a privilege and doing a PhD is such a privilege. But look, during a 3-year candidature, in fact, during any 3-year period of our lives, something truly shocking and terrible will happen to you. And our character, as I've always said, are judged during the bad times, not the good. When things are good, people are nice to you. It's fantastic, it's fabulous, you're doing well. When things are bad, it can be isolating, horrifying, and shocking. And we learn a lot about ourselves during these times. And during these times, particularly when we're doing a PhD, we have some serious choices to make. So in those times, all these stories that I've talked about today tend to evaporate. They just can't hold on to us. We panic and we become lost. And look, I understand that. When the worst happens, what I'd advise you think about doing is create a micro story, one of those t-shirt slogans, if you like, to get you back into your lane again. So the first thing you have to do is just acknowledge that something dreadful has happened. Business as usual is not possible. Many of your stories will stop. So, a relationship may break up, you may lose your house, a family member might get sick, bad stuff happens, right? And during periods like this, you might say, you know what, the thesis doesn't matter. And you know what, it might not. But you need to make a decision at that moment. Say, am I going to remain connected to my thesis, or am I going to stop my thesis? Both are legitimate decisions. But you have to do something. You have to recognise that this is a break, that this is a rupture, and you're going to have to do some work to get going once more. And if it helps, let me tell you the t-shirt slogan I used when Steve died. Now, of course, I'm a good researcher, and so I researched, right, well, okay, so what happens to a widow in the day, the week, the month and the year after your husband dies? So that was, I said, well, look, let's do this as a research project and let's find out what's in front of me. And look, I was pretty shocked and somewhat rattled to see that a woman who lost her husband in her 40s had a shocking death rate in the year after her husband died. Now, I did not know that. And sort of, when you're sort of reading research and you go, oh, that would be me. Oh, that's me. Oh, this is unfortunate, that's me. So that certainly focused the mind. And that was really useful to me. So my t-shirt slogan after Steve's death was survival and momentum, or breathing and moving. So what am I doing today? I am breathing and I am moving. And look, even in this dreadful, dreadful year, I've never got sick, I've never missed a day of work, and I'm okay. I'm actually okay. And to my amazement, I didn't know this, in this year, I've produced a book, 4 refereed articles, 3 book chapters. What else have I done? I've supervised more PhD students to completion this year than in any other moment of my career, and the Office of Graduate Research is staffed by the most incredible people that have created a team and are making a difference. Now, I didn't realise any of this until I was preparing this vlog, because my focus has been on breathing and moving. But I've been kind to myself, as I want you to be kind to yourself. Know your limits and understand why those limits are important. Now, you guys, like I had to live with that mantra, like widows in their 40s don't make it. So that will focus your mind as a mantra, and it means you have a t-shirt slogan to manage it. But remember, you've got a mantra as well. Half the people that start a PhD do not finish it. Now, that narrative should focus your mind as well. So create those stories of academic, professional, personal and life success, so that you, yes, you are in that half of the people that finish their PhD. And I know that you can do it. I wish you love, light and peace. Tia.